sudden death time. I have no idea what that was. That was chaos. If you've seen my bookshelf unhaul video, then you know what's about to happen. And if you've not, I'm super excited to tell you. I have got too many books out from the library right now, too many books I've borrowed from other people, and it's stressing me out that I'm not able to give them back to where they're supposed to live. But I also don't have time to read all of them before I need to give them back. So we're gonna do a little sudden death reading challenge where I am going to spend 15 to 20 minutes with each book. And at the end of that 15 to 20 minutes, if I am not interested, if I'm not like having to tear myself away from the book when the timer goes off, we're giving it back. It's going back now. Now, if you did see my bookshelf unhaul video, then you know that I also have a bunch of books from my shelves that I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep or not that were going to go in this sudden death, but there are 24 of them, and I have 17 books from the library or from other people that need to happen here. So we're going to do this video in two parts. This part is going to be library books and books I borrowed from other people, and the next part will be books from my own shelves because there's less of a deadline on those, obviously. So let's throw you over to future Sam, where she is hopefully settling down somewhere comfy to do a little sudden death reading challenge. All right, time to read a shit ton of books. I've got all of them stacked up here that I'm going to be reading today, which is 16 books. 6 of those are library books, and 10 of those are books that friends have loaned me. So I've got the library books at the front here, and then I've got 8 books from my book swap with my friend Katie. I'll leave a link to the video about that in the description below. And then I've got 2 books that my friend Tanya has loaned me. And I'm gonna do this in 2 rounds. I'm gonna do a 5-minute round, and then I'm gonna do a 15-minute round for those that make it through the 5-minute round, I think. The first book that we're going to be reading is Talking at Night by Claire Daverley. Will and Rosie meet as teenagers. They're opposites in every way. She overthinks everything. He's her twin brother's wild and unpredictable friend. But over secret walks home and late-night phone calls, they become closer, destined to be one another's great love story. Until one day, tragedy strikes, and their future together is shattered. But as the years roll on, Will and Rosie can't help but find their way back to each other. Time and again, they come close to rekindling what might have been. What do you do when the one person you should forget is the one you just can't let go? Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. Okay, so I got about 7 pages in during that time. I think I like it. It's definitely a different writing style than I'm used to, and a far more literary one than the plot description would suggest, but I'm intrigued. So this is gonna make it through the first round. What I'm hoping is to eliminate at least a third of these. Well, there's 16, so I'd like to eliminate at least 5, ideally half, so 8, because this is just too many books for me to have, and my demand avoidance is seriously kicking in. So Talking at Night, gonna go through to the 15-minute round. Let's do another one for the 5-minute round. The Green Road. Who is this by? Anne Enright. Hannah, Dan, Constance, and Emmett return to the west coast of Ireland for a final family Christmas in the home their mother is about to sell. As the feast turns to near painful comedy, a last desperate act from Rosaline, a woman who doesn't quite know how to love her own children, forces them to confront the weight of family ties and the road that brought them home. All right, Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Alexa, cancel my timer.
5-minute timer cancelled.
We have our first elimination. Literally took me a page and a half to eliminate this, but the prose is just way too stylized, and I just know I'm not going to have the patience for this at the moment. If I ever want to read it in the future, or if I'm in the mood for something like this, I can always check it out again, but for now, it's just not the vibe, so. Next up, we have Brain on Fire by Susannah I always want to say Callahan, it's Cahalan. This is essentially about a woman who just out of nowhere has a psychotic break. She starts having hallucinations, like really, really intense ones, and they just can't find any reason why it's happening. I don't read a ton of memoirs, but this one sounded really interesting, so I'm excited to do that. I'm gonna skip the author's note and just jump straight to the preface for the sake of this challenge. So Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. Yes, definitely making it through to 15 minutes. Really engaging writing. Does read like a memoir, but like more like literary nonfiction. Yeah. Definitely excited to keep reading that. Next up, we have The Honeys by LaSala, and I'm excited to read this. I am not usually a huge horror person, but I'd really like to start getting into more horror novels. I actually started reading this one before, and I think I read the entirety of, the first chapter, so I'm going to start with chapter 2. But this is about two siblings, one of whom dies and the other one goes to the summer camp that she had been to and is sort of drawn to her old group of friends. I don't know, let's see. The first chapter was insane. Basically his sister broke in and tried to kill him, and they end up like falling off of the like balcony, and when they land she dies. So it's very intense so far. So we're gonna go into chapter 2. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. Yes, maybe 15-minute version, definitely. Next up, we have Foe by Iain Reid. Now, I have read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid, and I did not like it. So why go for Iain Reid again? Because first of all, the premise sounds really interesting. And second of all, they're making a film of it with, I think, Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal, if I'm correct, and I love those two people. When I say the premise sounds interesting, Junior and Henrietta are a quiet married couple. They live a comfortable, isolated life on their farm, far from the city lights, but in close quarters with each other. One day, a stranger from the city arrives with surprising news. Junior has been randomly selected to travel far away from the farm, very far away. The most unusual part, arrangements have already been made so that when he leaves, Hen won't have a chance to miss him at all, because she won't be left alone, not even for a moment. Hen will have company, familiar company. And then someone told me it's like genre bending and like speculative, which I find really interesting. Yeah, all right. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. Yeah, not just a little bit speculative. Yes. This is not going well. So far I've had 4 yeses and 1 no. Next up is The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say no to this one. I'm not even gonna read it. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't want to read it. It's like far future sci-fi, and the idea of that isn't vibing with me right now. I do like far future sci-fi sometimes, but I think right now it's just not what I'm in the mood for. So, okay, from my library books, I have said no to a third, which is good. So no to 2 and yes to 4. I need to make myself another cup of tea, and then we'll start on those. Hi. Hello. You wanna come up? Hi. Hello. Hi, Vespa. You gonna help Mommy? Which one do you think I should read first? You don't understand. You don't like the big stack of books, do you? High five. Good boy. Okay, so let's start with the books that my friend Tanya loaned me, which I've got 2 of them. Let's start with Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I know this is a much beloved book. It is a big book, and I get big book fear because it's such a commitment. I don't really know anything about this book. A club-footed, cleft-lipped man marries a 15-year-old girl. The couple have 1 child, their beloved daughter Sunja. When Sunja falls pregnant by a married Yakuza, the family face ruin. But then a Christian minister offers a chance of salvation, a new life in Japan as his wife. Following a man she barely knows to a hostile country where she has no friends and no home, Sunja's salvation is just the beginning of her story. Doesn't sound like something I would pick up. I don't love religious overtones in books. I don't mind when it's like a fantasy. Kirby, that you can't lick the books. I don't mind when it's like a fantasy with like religious overtones, like Narnia or Lord of the Rings or something like that, but I don't love when it's like topical. I'm gonna give it a go, and I'm sorry, you're just gonna, oh, he knows he's in the way. You okay, sweet boy? You okay? Yeah, you feeling left out. There you go. There, sweet. No, don't lick the microphone. All right, Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Alexa, cancel my timer. I don't think it's for me right now. Add that to the no pile. So second of Tanya's books, we've got There by Tommy Orange, and it follows 12 characters from native communities, all traveling to the big Oakland powwow, all connected to one another in ways they may not yet realize. Cool. Let's give it a go. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, cancel my timer. This book feels important and I want to read this book, I think. But again, we're kind of focusing on right now, and I think it's just not something that I have the mental bandwidth for right now. I'm gonna put it in the no pile. I'll give both of these back to Tanya when I want to read it in the future, when I've got a little bit more bandwidth and I can think about something other than character arcs and chapter structures of my own book. I will check it out from the library. Now we're moving into books from my book swap with my friend Katie. I've got 8 of these, and we're gonna start with A Gentleman in Moscow, which is basically about a guy in Moscow on house arrest and like watching the world outside change. This is also very big, and I've just opened it up and the print is so small. So standards, again, gonna be quite high. Oh my God. Okay. Katie, you have a lot of belief in me. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. I think this is the first one that I have like not wanted to put down at the end of the 5 minutes. This is surprisingly funny. Absolutely will move that on to the next round. Next we have The Forest of Wool and Steel, which is, I think, YA, essentially about an aspiring piano player, which you can kind of see from the cover. I think this is translated from Japanese, and let's go for it. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, cancel my timer. I don't think the writing style is for me. It doesn't feel grounded enough. And again, maybe that's just a like current vibes situation, but yeah, I think that's gonna be a no. Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. Effia and Essie, 2 sisters with very different destinies. One sold into slavery, one a slave trader's wife. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and put that one in a no, just because I actually tried to start it a couple of weeks ago and just couldn't get into it, and I definitely don't think I'm more in the mood for it now than I was then. Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. Francis Jellicoe is dying. A man who calls himself the Vicar visits, hoping to extract a deathbed confession. He wants to know what really happened that fateful summer of 1969 when Francis, tasked with surveying a dilapidated country house, first set eyes on the glamorous bohemian couple Cara and Peter. She recalls the relationship they forged through sweltering days, lavish dinners, and elaborate lies, and the Judas hole through which she would spy on the couple. Were the signs there right from the beginning, or was it impossible to avoid the crime that split their lives open like rotten fruit? It does sound like the kind of thing that I would like, so let's give this one a go. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Alexa, stop. Ugh. Yeah, I'll move this one to the 15-minute round. I think it seems interesting. I just need to get a little further into it to know for sure. Next up, ooh, interesting. We have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a literary memoir told in like just little vignette. Like the chapters are exceedingly short. The longest one that as I'm flicking through seems to be like 3 pages. I've heard this one is very heavy, but very good. It's about an abusive queer relationship. Don't know if I want something heavy right now, but I've heard such good things about it that it would be a shame not to give it a try. So, Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
Starting now.
I never read prologues. I find them tedious. If what the author has to say is so important, why relegate it to the paratext? What are they trying to hide? And then there's a prologue. I enter into the archive that domestic abuse between partners who share a gender identity is both possible and not uncommon, and that it can look something like this. I speak into the silence. I toss the stone of my story into a vast crevice, measure the emptiness by its small sound. Alexa, stop. Yes, absolutely, yes. It started out in such a surprisingly lighthearted and tender way. I think everyone really prepared me for a gut punch, and I wasn't expecting to be smiling for the first 5 minutes. So definite yes. Right, got 3 to go. Let's start here. Elif, Shafak, 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this strange world. I am going to preemptively put this through to the 15-minute round because I actually already started this book and got a decent ways into it. I just wasn't in the mood for it then. I don't know if I'm going to be more in the mood for it now, but because I already started reading it, I know that it would pass the 5-minute test, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it through to the 15-minute one. I also have already started Tin Man, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the no. I just wasn't vibing with it. And then finally we have An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, so this is gonna be the last 5-minute test that we're gonna do. Newlyweds Celestial and Roy are the embodiment of the American dream. He's a young executive and she's an artist on the brink of an exciting career, until one day they're ripped apart by circumstances neither could have imagined. Roy is arrested and sentenced to 12 years for a crime Celestial knows he didn't commit. Devastated and unmoored, Celestial finds herself struggling to hold on to the love that has been her center, taking comfort in Andre, their closest friend. When Roy's conviction is suddenly overturned, he returns home ready to resume their life together. I mean, this is like exceedingly acclaimed, so I am excited to see if I get on with it. So let's give it a go. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. Last time I have to say that. So stop. Yeah, I can see the hype even in just the first 5 minutes. So there we go. So after round 1, 5-minute round, we have eliminated 7 out of 16, which is fantastic. Does mean that I have got 9 books that I need to spend 15 minutes on. That's okay. So let me get the no's out of the way and then we'll start in on the 15-minute rounds. All right, time for the 15-minute round. And I think let's start where I left off. So let's start with An American Marriage and go from there. Find where I left off. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. Yes, I'm loving this. Having put this automatically through to this round, I think I'm gonna change my mind and I'm gonna say this is a no, because as interested as I was to keep reading this, like this was not like that for me. Despite the fact that the language in this is so beautiful, like on the line level, it's so good, but it was just not holding my attention. So I think I'm gonna pass this one back to Katie for now. And again, if I want to read it in the future, I can always take it out from the library. So now let's keep going on In the Dream House. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. It's not very grounded. It definitely is like very experimental, and usually that's not really my thing, but the writing is impeccable, so I do think I'll continue reading this one. Bitter Orange. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. I'm interested in this. But I think it's taking too long to get to the point and I'm a little bit bored. So I'm gonna say no on this one. Next, we're gonna go back to A Gentleman in Moscow. I didn't use a bookmark in all these because I don't have that many bookmarks, so I'm having to like find where I left off after the 5 minutes. There we go. Okay, Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Stop. I don't know what it says about me that I kind of wish that somebody would put me on house arrest and say that I wasn't allowed to work and let me keep all of my books. Like, I actually don't think that house arrest would be very hard for me. Yeah, we're not going to go down that line of thinking at the moment, but that is a definite yes. We're going to keep going with that one. Next up, we have Foe. This had just started to get quite speculative when I left off. Let's find where that was. It's interesting. I don't love Iain Reid's, like, writing style in the sense that the way that he does dialogue and stuff is really weird, but the story is very interesting, so let's keep going. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. I am so intrigued. It's so interesting to me, and I have like no trust in this author because of the last book of his that I tried to read, and I just am like confused, but I don't know. I think I'll leave it in the yes for now, but I won't be afraid to DNF it, but I am gonna continue going with it, I think. I've only got 3 left. We're getting there. Next up is The Honeys. Found my place. Let's do this one. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. I'm kind of torn on this one. I don't feel as curious or engaged as I feel like I should, given the genre and where I am in the story. So I think I'm gonna put this one aside for now. I might come back to it in the future, but I don't think care enough to keep reading right now. Moving back to Brain on Fire by Susannah Cahalan. I said right that time. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, stop. Another definite yes. Really enjoying this one. And then finally, Talking at Night. Interesting, because this was the first one that I read during the 5-minute challenge. And now going into the 15-minute challenge, I feel, looking back on it, like the other books that I read, especially the ones I've put in the yeses, are so much more interesting than this one. So I'm gonna still give it a go, but I'm not feeling optimistic that I'm gonna end up keeping it. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. Alexa, cancel my timer. Yeah, I think this one's gonna be a no. Interesting, but not anywhere near as interesting as the 5 that I put in the yeses. So that's it. We've got our 5. I cannot believe I said at the beginning that I was hoping that I would be able to get rid of at least 5, ideally 8, and the fact that I'm actually only keeping 5 is great. 2 of which are library books, so I'll be able to return 2/3 of the library books that I have, and then 3 of which are loans, all from Katie, so I can return all of Tanya's books to her and most of Katie's books to her. She still has some of my books from the swap as well, so I don't feel too bad. That is a huge relief. Like I said, my demand avoidance can be really difficult sometimes, so looking at a big stack of books like that I'm like, I feel like I have a deadline to read. It makes me not want to do it, but then I feel like if I'm going to read anything, I should be reading those books, which makes me not read the books that are already on my shelf, and then I'm not reading and then I'm upset. So it's really good to be able to pare that down a little bit. Feeling really good about that. I hope you enjoyed this. I do have all of those books that I pulled off my shelves as part of my bookshelf unhaul that I did. So there is technically a part 2 to come of this, but I want to hear from you in the comments if you think I should do anything different structurally with it, maybe a bracket, so like I have to choose between 2 books as I go. That could actually be quite interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments if I should do anything like that. Less of a deadline on those because I've already pulled them off of my bookshelves, but they're my books, so they don't have to go back to anyone. But in the meantime, I've got 5 good books to focus on. I'm not going to read all of these immediately, but I'm especially thinking Brain on Fire and Foe. The library books are probably the ones that I'll read next. So if you're not already, be sure to hit subscribe so that when my January reading wrap up comes out, you can see if I managed to read either or both of those, and if so, what I thought of them in the end. I'm not gonna count all of these others as DNFs because I don't feel like I read enough of them. I only read each of them for 20 minutes, some of them only for 5. But in the meantime, here are our winners. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.